Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in ancient Rome? Well, there were two main social classes: patricians and plebeians, rich Romans and poor Romans. They were very different, but their three main differences was in their food, education, and housing. Starting with the food, poor Romans had a simple diet. It mainly consisted of low-quality porridge, vegetables, and bread. Meat was too expensive to buy, so it was a luxury if poor Romans had it. On the other hand, rich Romans could easily afford this. Their diet mainly consisted of bread, meat, vegetables, cheese, and wine, all high quality. This greatly differed from the poor Roman diet because they didn't have meat, cheese, and wine, or more importantly, calcium and protein. This is why the rich Roman diet greatly differed from the poor Roman diet. The next reason rich Romans were different than poor Romans is because of the difference in education. A poor Roman would not usually go to school and instead be educated to learn a job like metalworking and leatherworking at an early age. On the other hand, a rich Roman education was different. For about 4 years, children were educated by slaves until age 6 to 7. Then they received a formal education and went to school. There, a tutor taught them Latin, Greek, literature, math, science, music, and public speaking. This greatly differs from poor Romans who usually just learned a job instead of a wide variety of topics. Students that went to school usually went there until they were 12, but wealthier Romans kept their sons in there until they were 16. Since the rich Romans had a formal education, they had a much higher chance than a poor Roman to get an upper-class job. Boys had jobs from politicians to soldiers, while girls had jobs from dentists to real estate agents. This is another reason why rich Romans differed from poor Romans through education. The final reason rich Romans were very different from poor Romans is because of their housing. Starting with the poor Romans, they had a very degrading living space. These were apartments, flats, called insulae. They were dirty, cramped, and unsanitary. Disease easily spread through the walls of this place. And since this was mainly made of wood, no one could cook here or else the place would burn down. This was only used to sleep because it was so small, and actually gets smaller on the way up. The higher you were in an apartment, the poorer you were. The lower down in the apartment you were, the richer you were. Since there was no running water anywhere here, or any plumbing, residents here had to go to the bathroom outside, like this, in very unsanitary conditions. Rich Romans, on the other hand, had it much differently. As you can see, this Roman estate is much bigger than the insulae we saw previously. So coming into here, there's an entrance hall, and on the sides there are shops, like a butcher shop and a thermopolia, which was a fast food place of the ancient times. Leading out of here is the atrium, and the atrium, it's a large hole in the roof that lets in sunlight, and this pool's meant here to cool up down the area. And now, as you can see, there's many golden statues to decorate the place. Surrounding this atrium area is the bedrooms, which were painted with many murals and were very simple because they were just used for sleeping only. Same thing on the other side. And past here is the dining room. Now, poor Romans did not have the luxury of a dining room. They just ate usually at a thermopolia. But here, rich Romans had the luxury of a dining room and servants and slaves cooking food for them here, with lots of paintings and murals in it too. Now leading out of here is like central courtyard garden. It has a big fountain in the middle, surrounded by many plants and trees. Right here is where the food gets cooked by the slaves and servants in the kitchen. Now again, people in the Insula couldn't even cook in their house. So this is one of the main differences between a poor Roman house and a rich Roman house. And also is this. It's a private bathroom, unlike the Insulae you just saw where there were public bathrooms. And there are more small bedrooms and small rooms surrounding this area too. So as you can see, rich Roman housing greatly differs from poor Roman housing because of 5 reasons. Its immense size, its value of decor such as golden statues, the dining room, kitchen, and private bathroom. This is why rich Roman housing greatly differs from poor Roman housing. As you can see, rich and poor Romans had many differences between their classes. Their main 3 differences were in their food and education and their housing.